Who am I? To think, to believe that I'm divine. Powerful, beautiful, and an offspring of the divine. I am the image and likeness of the divine. And so who am I to speak clearly to who I really am? I am spirit. I am soul. And I use this physical form. I am the being of light, here to fulfill love that's unlimited. Hi everyone, Om Shanti. Good evening, and I hope you're doing extremely well. And today was a good day for you, and you're celebrating even the smallest of things. I just got a nice text message from Heather at United Palace in New York City, but she's actually outside of New York City, about 45 minutes away, of the most beautiful rainbow overlooking, I don't know what the name of the lake is or the river, but what a beautiful scene. There's so many things that we can begin to focus our attention on to stimulate the energy of beauty in us, and sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to do. I'm sure you find that when you listen to a lot of the news, or sometimes you listen to your family and your friends, it could feel pretty dark, pretty gloomy, pretty hopeless. And the best of you wants it to be the best experience ever, but sometimes it just doesn't always turn out that way, you know? Things just take us farther and further away from peace of mind. So today's thing on, anxiety, stress, fear, could meditation be a cure? Well, of course, you know that I'm going to tell you meditation is a cure. And again, even though that seems just a thought away and it seems so simple, sometimes you and I aren't always able to step into that place, which is why it's so important that we have friends that we can turn to for support. A few days ago, we did a show, and on the show was a friend of ours who had come on. Her name is Portia. Portia was quite distressed about just the situation of what was going on, but the fact that she was observing that she was developing symptoms that seemed very much belonging to the COVID. So on the comment in our YouTube live a few days ago, Portia shared how emotionally distraught and scared she was. And to all of our friends who were watching and listening in on the show that day, they empathetically stepped up immediately. Some called her, some texted her, some emailed, made a mention on the comment. And even the next day, folks, there were people who were watching the show who asked, "How is that lady? How is Portia? I didn't see her on. Is she okay?" There is something very profoundly beautiful about this incredibly conflicting, confusing, exhausting time that we're in. The best of our humanity is showing up. And I hope that it's doing that for you too in the family. because now we really, really need to be there for each other and show up more and more than ever before. And the way that I look at this is that I find that breathing, being able to be patient, understanding, will help us to really navigate through these very challenging times. I came across one of our books that I wanted to read to you. And currently, Sister Gita is absolutely getting on Brother Santosh's last nerve. She has this new thing that she goes around the house and she taps you like, and she goes on, and we're just like, okay, love of our seniors, we will not leave them alone. But I wanted to read something because I think it sets a tone for our conversation today. Oh, by the way, God's Healing Power by B.K. Jayanti. Get a copy right now on Amazon. Got it? Here's what B.K. Jayanti says. The uppermost area of the mind, very familiar to us, is the area of conscious thought. Thoughts surface into awareness like bubbles. Many thoughts carry with them a feeling or feelings, and again, we are all familiar with that. The thought, I like the look of that cream cake, for example, could be accompanied by feelings of hunger or greed, or joy or longing, or anticipated satisfaction. Less commonly understood is the insight offered by the teachings of Raj Yoga, supported by her own experience in the spiritual domain, that feelings as well as thoughts originate within the soul. Feelings are clearly reflected in physical changes. Everybody underline that? Portia, you underline that? Feelings are clearly reflected in physical changes in the body. I was on a wonderful panel conversation today, led by Dr. Ivy Hilton and Dr. Salim Hilton, to a group of educators, and the title was Trauma, Resilience, and Empathy during COVID. And we did a program on this whole concept of thought and vibrations. And so many of the educators were struggling with the fact that there's such uncertainty. Again, the reality of situations, they're not so good. But the question is, what do I need to think to navigate my life and the lives of those around me to get through this? All right? So I want you to think on this. Feelings are clearly reflected in physical changes in the body. I may feel my heart race with excitement, my mouth salivate with anticipation, and my stomach sink with fear. This is because soul and body function in complementary ways, so that what goes on in the soul is definitely reflected in the body and vice versa. It is not that feelings arise out of the blue or solely as a reaction to external stimuli. They come from me, the soul. Recognizing this is an invaluable step toward breaking free from cycles of unwanted or inappropriate thoughts and feelings. However, when I create thoughts that have a feeling component, those feelings have an impact on the soul as well as the body. You can believe you have COVID. Yes, you might have the symptoms, but the thought of the belief is even stronger than sometimes the disease. The longer I experience thoughts and feelings of a particular variety, the greater is the soul's predisposition to generate those feelings. This can reach the point where feelings take over and I experience their impact, even though I no longer consciously connect them with my thoughts. Did you hear that? Let's say, for example, my partner has done something without consulting me, and there's a pattern of thoughts running through my mind, such as, why are they doing this? It shouldn't have happened like this. How dare they? Why on earth didn't they ask me first? I do wish they wouldn't be so stupid. Sounds like Santosh's favorite word. Stupid. It's so cute when he says it because it's so out of character for him to say it. When he sees people not practicing social distancing, he goes, "How could they be so stupid?" And it's so out of his character, but this is how cautious he has been, especially with Sister Geeta, who still thinks Corona is a woman. Anyway, and I mean, she's just about getting it. But today we went to the museum and she went to talk to a man upstairs and she wasn't doing social distancing. So, of course, Santosh had to become Hercules with his tiny body. Anyway, back to the wonderful book. Sorry for the commercial break. So to have thoughts like, I would have been much better if it was done like that or like this and so on. Turning over thoughts of this type in your mind leaves you with a feeling that is definitely not positive. You start to become critical, you start to reject, and things become hard. What is worse is when I have let feelings like this emerge, it is all too easy to carry them over into circumstances where they have no relevance. I have left home for work, perhaps, and in my thoughts I'm now dealing with completely different issues, but the unpleasant critical feelings are still with me. At the point where they affect my behavior, I react over some minor provocation, creating bad feelings from others as well. The point here is, sometimes the cycle of your thoughts can make you believe something that isn't true. Santosh, put on that video for me that can show the impact of the way that we think and how our vibrations actually are spreading to one another, which is why I always suggest to all of our friends, please choose people who are optimistic, positive, and can encourage you and move you forward. If you don't know how to choose someone who is like that and you don't have a choice, they happen to be your mother, your husband, your child, it's going to be a little bit of an extra work, but it'll be your effort to stay beyond it and still project good feelings and pure wishes. It will help. So enjoy this video just for a little bit, and I'll see you back and have a chat with Portia Davidson.
When I was a child, I remembered a song, "Stop the world, I want to get down." Do you know what's more interesting? The world stopped, but we did not have anywhere to step down to. We have come to a moment when we need to look inside ourselves and to look after our own emotional state. Do you know what's more dangerous than a pandemic of coronavirus? It's a pandemic of disconnected people full of depression, anxiety, people who can't sleep, people who are only able to speak of the cause, the crisis, the blame, and giving up on the future. Only speaking about going to the supermarket and the shelves were empty, and putting even more negative energy into things that have already happened. So if you don't have anything positive to say, simply stay quiet and listen. And when you listen, your plea is heard, your vibration is lifted, and when your vibration is lifted, your immune system is strengthened. When we moan about things we don't want, we cry out and just double it. Nobody's a victim, nobody's to blame. We are talking about a problem that is silent and invisible, that was able to stop the world, and nobody could step down. So we've come to a moment when we need to look after our own emotional state of mind and look deeply inside ourselves and ask, how can I ignite the positive light in others today? How can I create a positive moment? Whether speaking a positive phrase, putting on some inspirational music, playing an instrument, speaking to somebody in your neighborhood block, putting out cards to see if anybody needs help. Anything, but always moving towards creating something good. It's not up to you to spread more negativity. It's not up to you to be adding more to the mayhem, but to help others to maintain a positive outlook, to help others to ignite their own inner light so that it does not go out as they face their daily challenges. My name is Sharon Bannister, biodynamic craniosacral practitioner and mentor. I wanted to translate and pass on this beautiful message to join the collective efforts to support you all. I hope it's been of help. Please pass it on. We all need to work together and to get the majority of people to be optimistic at the moment and create people that are aware, pray, Meditate and vibrate with positivity, believing that everything will be all right, and in time, this too will pass.
How compelling was that video? You see, our thoughts carry vibrations. They carry feelings, they make things happen. And what I'd like to do is to go back a little bit of my opening message, and we're going to get Portia Davidson on in a short bit on FaceTime. This is our first time doing FaceTime live. A few days ago I was doing a show and Portia came on and she was really just distraught about the fact that she suspected that she had the COVID virus. And the community that was online at the time were so supportive to her. Some even called her. This is someone that I've known many, many years. We met at the Pentagon when myself and Deepak Chopra were doing a sharing on the Remember Me and the whole concept of meditation. And from then we've stayed good friends over the years. So here's her introduction just very briefly. Portia served this nation's government in numerous critical executive assignments in the European, Pacific, and American regions and retired in 2013. I was actually at her wonderful retirement party. And in her last assignment, she served as the Workforce Policy Advisor to the Commandant Office of Diversity and Inclusion, responsible for strategic planning and executing the landmark Diversity and Inclusion Summit. Portia Davidson is now a licensed esthetician and the owner of the spa called Portia's Essential Skincare in Woodbridge, Virginia. I ask you to contact her. We're going to put her website in the comment field so you can go and get some awesome spa treatment. So she's not only that, but not only a good friend, but someone who has done a lot of work with us, but she's also the president of the Washington International Piano Arts Council. It gives me great pleasure to bring my friend on and someone who we've had a very close relationship over the years, Portia Davidson. Hi, Portia. So glad that you can join us.
Dr. Jenna.
Great.
Thank you. To what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to thank you very much for calling me and expressing your thoughts on my healing process. It was very, very helpful. And I also want to mention Dr. Ivy Hilton, another magnificent spiritual leader, spiritual healer, musician, vocalist, magnificent. And Jeremiah Ginsburg is on watching tonight. He and his wife, Wendy, are Broadway show producers. He is a musical composer, and he called. I had thanked him for a song that he wrote as part of a musical he wrote called Esther, Sweet Esther, that was performed at the Press Club. And the song is called Hear Their Prayer. And he actually called me and did a healing over the phone. And it was just incredible. And I wanted to thank Jeremiah personally and his wife.
Can I say something, Portia, that one of the benefits, well, let's go back a little bit a few days ago. A few days ago, I was doing a talk on one of our subjects. It could have been, I don't remember right now, but I didn't even know you were on. And you know how I knew you were on? Antonia texted me, please call Portia, she's not doing well. Ivy texted me and says, I just spoke to Portia, please call her to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
And then I had heard that you kind of fell apart. You were very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Basically telling the community of friends that, look, I think I have this virus, what to do, and that you were distraught. Can you share with us what that day felt like for you and what you were actually going through?
Well, I had been tested for the coronavirus. I have been sick, actually, for the past 3.5 weeks. I had developed, it started with a neck rash, and that morphed into, my skin looked like a snake's skin. I couldn't move my head. I could not move my neck at all. It looked like a knife. It felt like a knife was in my throat. And I had pains in all my limbs. my husband Mike had just come out of the hospital. He had suffered with pneumonia and a heart condition. He was in the hospital 2 days, but recovered, and he was cleared. So then I got sick, and I'm out and about. I'm like a Mexican jumping bean. How do you control a Mexican jumping bean? That's who I am. I mean, I'm out and about every day, and I was.
So did
all
you
my
feel
joints-
like a lot of the thoughts that were taking you over, you started to recognize that the symptoms were coming, and then
Yes.
you started to really feed those thoughts over and over again?
Yes, I've been to Georgetown University Hospital, MedStar Hospital. I was seen by two brilliant doctors, and they said, yeah, it's a virus we don't know. I mean, I had developed welts, non-cancerous growths all over my throat. They're still there.
So there were other complications that you were also concerned about. So the thought kept growing more and more. And with all the
Absolutely.
stuff about COVID and the fact that there's no cure and that people at a particular age group were more susceptible to the disease, didn't you start to really believe, oh my, I think I have this?
Absolutely. I was crying. Like I said, my whole body had joint pain. I couldn't move my fingers. And my sister Patricia had called me to say hello. And I told her, I said, I haven't been well. And I told her I was, I was tested for the coronavirus. And I just found out this morning that I do not have the virus.
Yay!
Yeah, so I found out this morning. And
I just called you
very
when you
grateful.
just got the results, and I didn't even know.
I just got the results this morning, and I'm very, very grateful. I thank God on my knees.
So,
But I loved your lead-in to the show tonight because you talked about our thoughts, and I have to say, and I wrote this down because I think it's meaningful, that Shakespeare said, nothing is either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So if we control our thoughts, our thought process, we can actually help heal ourselves.
yeah.
But there has to be that opening. There has to be the only way that we can have positive energy, I believe, or flow, is that we have to clear our minds of excessive thinking. And I was really obsessed thinking about, oh, I can't move my fingers. Everything I'm in pain all over my body. My neck was purple. I couldn't even lift
That's
it like
scary.
this.
Yeah, that's
Very
scary.
scary. Very
Yeah.
scary.
And also going into hospitals nowadays is a scary experience.
Right,
Nobody
I was
really.
the only one in the clinic. They told me to come in. I was the only one there at the Department of Dermatology.
It's amazing. It's
I was the
amazing.
only one there. They could only see one patient at a time.
So when we
So-
were talking earlier today as well, you shared something that touched my heart about, the thoughts from everyone. When Ivy checked in, when your friends were
Oh.
checking in, when I called and spoke to you. Tell us about that particular period and how you felt it was a big part of the healing.
It literally changed my thinking. If you can't let the healing process occur if your mind is clouded with I want, like you said, negative thoughts. And when I got your call and you said, how are you? And I just started to cry. And I said, I'm not feeling well. And your first thing you told me is, take a deep breath, relax. And I did quite a few deep breathing exercises while you were on the phone. And you didn't say anything other than that. Just be calm, relax, tell me what happened. And I told you I have been sick, for several weeks, been to the doctors, and I had like I said, I had the test, and I didn't know what the outcome would be. I had no idea.
I know
I
that was the
frightened-
anxiety and the stress that
Yeah,
it was
because,
building in your system.
And people have died from this. I mean, it is the worst thing that's happened to this world in the past 100 years. It is so frightening. You hear it. We're surrounded by negative influencers from television, outside. Everything is shut down. we have a circle of this horror around us that we are wearing masks and gloves, and it's tough. It's really tough, and if you're sick, it makes it even worse. But when I got that call from you, and then Reverend Ivy Hilton and Jeremiah Ginsburg, I mean, all of this healing that was done is so powerful. It changed me. It changed my thinking process.
Yeah.
So, we stopping that excessive thinking is an absolute must, and opening the channels of your mind through a relaxation, meditation, exercise changed me. It absolutely changed me. And I was able then, through that process, to think clearer. My mind was clouded. I didn't think about myself. I realized I have to get my mind off me. I had to get my mind off me. It wasn't about me. I may have been feeling all of these pains, and I still am not, recovered, but it's not about me. And I thought about, and my mother used to say this, who raised 10 children. She was a widow with 10 children. My father died at 44, and she always used to say, look what Jesus went through. Imagine being nailed to a cross. Imagine being beaten. Look what happened in the Holocaust. Imagine being thrown into an oven, little children. Imagine the horrors of the Black community being tarred and feathered because of the color of your skin. Imagine the people that are shot every single day in this country. And so there has to be a shift, a conscious, subconscious level of shifting, as you say so eloquently in all your presentations. I mean, I take tons of notes when you speak, because your knowledge base in this field is really magnificent and very, very healing. So that process of calming the body down and breathing and meditating and also prayer. I'm very spiritual. I do pray all through the day.
Yes.
And I appreciate all the programs that I have attended at the Meditation Museum for almost 20 years. And they have changed me. They helped me. So and I have to just say one other thing. Years ago, in the hospitals, if you mentioned meditation, it was like
it's like a pagan work, yeah.
They didn't understand. Now, the researchers in the hospitals, the doctors in the hospitals, understand how healing meditation is. The school systems are doing it with children. The Native American Indian community have been doing it for centuries. The India community, the Brahma Kumaris have taught us so much about meditation and how it can heal you, truly heal you.
Yeah.
So it is a blessing, and I'm very, very grateful. But it's not about me. We have to think about others and what they are going through.
To sometimes get by our little stuff that we're going through on a day-to-day basis. So
Portia, about the worst things.
Yeah. So Portia, basically what I've gotten from what you've shared, which of course I don't totally believe in, is that if you can just shift the way that you've been thinking, you can also shift the circumstance.
Yeah.
Because could you share the news about the results of your test of the coronavirus?
I actually did. I put it on Facebook.
Okay.
And I have like almost 1,000 friends on Facebook from everywhere I've worked in Germany and Japan and Poland. That we're still great friends. And yeah, I did share that and all. And
so the result is you're A-okay, or do we need to do more healing thoughts?
I don't have the coronavirus.
Okay, all right, good.
I am still healing.
Yes, of course.
So that is good. That is really, really great. And I'm great doctors at Georgetown Hospital that I will see actually again next week.
Yes.
And now we're doing
let me ask you to pause here. When you got the results, can you recall what your first thought was, or your first stream of thoughts, one, and how were you feeling? The reason why is I'd like you to distinguish, even at a personal level, what were you going through before the results? What were those thoughts? Were you still breathing? Were you still thinking of the best? Were you thinking, look, people have been through much worse than I have? And then after the results came in and the doctor said, you're okay, you've not tested positive, but you still have to be careful. We're still in the
Yes.
danger zone. But check with me, share with me and our viewers, what was that first thought when you got the result?
I was afraid. I was absolutely afraid. I was in fear, to be quite honest. I said to Mike, I said, yeah, well, actually, I called because they were supposed to tell me yesterday, but they were overwhelmed. And they sent me the results. They sent us like a 10-page document. It's not an easy test. They go through your nose and the back of your nose with a long, looked like a needle, but very small, but they take the specimens way in the back. And that wasn't pleasant. But when I called them and they said, "Oh yeah, we've got your results and they're negative." But I was
Yay.
panicked. I was absolutely panicked. But I had called the lab, and that's when they told me. But I was scared to death, literally, because this is something we've never seen before.
Yeah. And after you got the results, did you feel your thoughts? Where did
I
your
couldn't
thoughts go?
speak. I couldn't speak. I
Relieved?
was I was I was stunned. I said, all I could think of, thank you, God, thank you, Lord, thank you. And I put it out to the universe, thanking, and I actually thought of others and I prayed for them.
Yes.
I haven't. I actually see it's if you keep your mind away from you and on others and what they're going through.
Yes.
All the people in Virginia alone, how many have died? Maryland,
New York,
every
New
single
Jersey,
state,
yeah,
New Jersey, where I'm from,
California.
are dead, and their families. They couldn't
Yeah.
even say goodbye to these people.
So,
All I did was think about them and
okay.
their family members. So it wasn't about me. I'm trying to stop this excessive thinking, not about me, and think of others.
Yes, that's a
When you
beautiful
think
way.
about only you, it's very destructive.
It's a beautiful way. So, when we get caught up in the fear and the anxiety and the stress, from what I'm picking up from what you're saying, is we get so self-focused on just us that if there is a concern or if things aren't completely right, it can really add to the fear and the sense of emotional sickness, which can kind of flow over into me beginning to believe physically I feel sick. And so the whole idea, the breath, the sharing, having someone just call and ask, how are you? And allowing you to just release your vulnerability, that's all a part of the healing process. I agree with you. And for those of you who are tuning in, we're having a heart-to-heart conversation with Portia Davidson, someone who was listening in on a show that we did 2 or 3 days ago. And in that program, Portia became extremely vulnerable to share her fear that she might have picked up the coronavirus. We're happy to say that she got her reports today,
Yeah.
and she's okay. But I wanted to bring her on air, not only because it's a real-time experience that we started to do these daily spiritual vaccines because of our staff and community here, but now it's expanded to friends and family and individuals outside. So the fact that Portia came on and felt so safe to share her concern and the enormous feedback of people saying, I got you, in itself was a healing process. And it makes me think, everyone, and Portia, I still have you on before I move on, that we're living in a time where this virus is signaling so many spiritual things to us. One, don't keep spilling over your junk onto people. It makes them feel sick. So when people are angry, right? When people are angry, jealous, critical of you, judgmental, when they have, motives that aren't pure, and you can't see it. So they call this like the invisible virus, right? So in a sense, you don't know who's carrying or what's going on. So in the same way with people, if we're carrying impure motives and we sometimes don't know that, and now we're projecting that onto others, we infect them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So another thing
Well
that
said.
another thing that I've been investigating, we're being asked to stand 6 feet apart from each other. Stand in your own self-respect. Then have a really heart-to-heart relationship with someone coming from a place of your self-respect. Not deceiving, not doing this, not doing that, even though I do miss my hugs. But one day we were out, Porsche, and we all had on our masks. And all I saw were eyes. And it's funny because as I looked at everyone, all I could see were eyes, and each eye told its particular story. And I saw a lady who had eyes that looked like she had a lot of love for God. And I saw someone who had eyes that looked like they were angry or they just came out of an argument. Then I was looking at other eyes. Some had fear. Some had, just flatness. Some had, and I kept looking for the spark in the eyes of individuals. We were no longer able to see anything else but each other's eyes. And again, that brought me to thinking that what this coronavirus is also doing, it's asking us, not only asking us to deeply relate to each other at a soul-to-soul level, because the windows becomes the eyes, or the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yes.
The eyes are the windows to the soul. So we're actually looking into each other, perhaps like we never have. And the question is, have you been kind? Have you been pure at heart? Have you been generous? Have you been loving? Have you been wise?
Beautiful.
What have you been picking up in terms of what this virus has meant to you from your spiritual perspective?
Is that a question to me? Oh, what have I picked up as a spiritual perspective? Is that
Yes, when you look at what you think this is teaching us, what do you feel the lesson here
Well,
is
I
for
think you
us?
sum things up so beautifully and eloquently on how you capsize things. Again, getting back to what you first said, it's all about our thoughts. And I love what you said, the idea of everyone has a mask on, but all you see are their eyes.
Yeah.
Our windows are the eyes of the soul. That's absolutely true. And we need to pay attention more to our soul consciousness. If we think that these are bodies, yes, but we're all one humanity, and we're all souls, and none of us are going to live forever.
At least not the
But we have
bodies.
to- Pardon me?
At least not the bodies, but the soul
the
will. But the
bodies.
bodies are not going to stay around forever, right?
The bodies are not staying around forever. So
Right.
we have to think more of soul consciousness and pay more attention. I think this epidemic is, like you said, is teaching us many lessons.
Yeah.
Many lessons. You see, I this morning I was just looking at Facebook and posting. I was just tested. A test came back negative, thank God. And I saw a caption from Brazil this morning that there are streets of people kneeling down, praying in unison, collective prayer, and the power of that collective prayer today in Brazil. They're all praying in the streets to God for healing. So I don't know how terrible things are in Brazil with the virus, but I mean, they're pretty bad around the world.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful thing to observe. So how this increases our spirituality, getting back to the question, when I think about what these people did in Brazil, streets and streets of people kneeling on the ground, praying to God, and how powerful that was to me.
Yeah.
And I thought about them. And I just, so there are many lessons, And
I think it's
again,
like a return to God, and Marianne Williamson has been doing readings of one
she's
of her
terrific.
best-selling books called Return to Love.
I have it. I love
And
it.
yesterday she did such a post on, I think it was chapter 5, and she basically shared that until we become pure, the energy of God's light can't flow through us to really show the magnificence of His value. And I feel that what the coronavirus has done also for us is that it's signaling us to turn more inwards, to have a deep relationship to Source, so that we can be a better version. We were not very nice people before this virus emerged. And it's been my pure wish that we become much better people after this virus. And so when I watch the news, which I only do less than an hour, if that much even a day, I don't even do more than even an hour. But when I do, and I sense that people are fighting in positions of power and people are calling each other's names, and then news affiliates are fighting with each other about don't tell people to go out, don't create a civil uprising at a particular time when we need safety for the country. I step back for a little bit and I pause and I go, are we not learning about this? Did anyone miss what this opportunity brought upon us would create? It would create a better humanity. But there's an old saying by Bob Marley in his song, and the song goes like this: many are called, few are chosen. And I feel that many of us are in this particular position to choose a way of peace, a way of love, a way of God, a way of compassion, a way of courage like you emanated a few days ago, and vulnerability. And I just hope, everyone, that we actually come out of this, a large number of us, come out of this knowing that we haven't been taking care of ourselves and that we do need a deep relationship to Source and to each other based on the Source. Portia, any final comments that you'd like to share with us
I
before
just
we
want to
let you go?
thank you, and I just want to say one other thing. When I served for at the Coast Guard, you were magnificent at our diversity summit, but you created a CD that I literally listen to every single day. I have so many of your meditation CDs that are so helpful. This is called Meditation for a Stress-Free Workplace, and I encourage everyone, if you can get it. It is just wonderful, and I give it away to people. I have stack of them. I have, and I give them away because it's so helpful. I've been listening to that every day.
Yeah, good.
And the meditations are absolutely beautiful. But I thank you for all of the programs you do on a daily basis, and the work you continue to do is admirable, and you are certainly being blessed. God has got His angels surrounding you and all of the Brahma Kumaris community. And I want to thank you for the love you share and how you help people literally around the world that get to tune in and watch the healing take place within them. So again, I just thank you. I want to thank your listeners, and there is hope. And we have to open our minds and get rid of excessive thinking and take our minds off ourselves and think more of others. And we're going to be okay.
Beautiful.
We're going to be fine. And I thank you, Sister Jenna. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
God bless you, and God be with you always.
Thank you. Just for 1 second, does anyone have any comment online for Portia? Did anyone share anything? 1 second, Portia, before I let you go.
Sure.
See if anyone had anything to share.
Fear of the virus is worse than the virus itself.
There's someone that said the fear of the virus is even worse than the virus itself.
And Perry says, powerful concept, shift thinking, shift circumstances.
Your brother Perry says powerful
Yes.
concept, powerful ideas to shift concept. Good.
Shares, so grateful that Portia results were negative. A wonderful story.
Patricia shared, so grateful that your results were negative. A wonderful show. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so much. Many blessings.
Blessings.
Om Shanti. Bye, darling.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So that was, you know, I really wanted to make this a real-time experience because this was someone who had actually joined the show and shared very, very openly about what they were feeling. And what our daily hour is about each other. You know, one of the things that I love is that we actually know everyone. You know, there are some people who have 1 million or 2 million and they have no idea what their first or last names are. The fact that we know each other, that we can reach back out to each other and say, I've got you. I've got you. Don't worry. You'll be okay. Yesterday we hold a meditation for Vani, who's a friend of Priyanka and Janvi, that he's in ICU now, Porsche, so we're hoping that he'll come out. And I was sending the vibrations solely to the soul, of course, because I want the soul to be comforted more than anything else. And that's important. So our continued blessings and vibrations. And Porsche, you know, we have a friend, a member of the royal family from a country in the Middle East, and she's been held prisoner by, for whatever reasons, for over a year. And her daughter Samir's been fighting drastically to get her out. There's been nothing accused of her and no one to talk to, and they've just held her in the prison. So I'd like us to also hold our healing vibrations for her, to get her safely released so she can move on with her life, and that she can no longer look back at this horrible time. Her condition is getting weaker physically, emotionally, and she's been held a captive without any charges or without any consent for over a year. What's happening to us as a civilization? Why can't I have the freedom to speak openly about things that I feel can move us closer to purity and love and God? The illusion of power, when it's material, carries grave consequences. And it's not just one person that suffers, but the vibration of that person's suffering carries throughout the whole humanity. And so I just want us to hold a moment of prayer for her in silence, seeing her released from cell block 108 and back home with her family. And for her to not look back at this particular period in her life. Just move on. It's hard when you come from a powerful family. It's hard when there's a lot of money involved. But is it? When your spirit is involved and your karmas have your address, wake up, everyone. You lose nothing by being kind and generous. So what? They don't agree with you. So what? They don't support your desires or your goals. Find the people who do. But don't kill them or lock them up or imprison them or defame their character or bully them. Karma has everyone's address. What is the karma if you're good and kind? What would be the karmic address if you give love and uplift those who are down? What's the karmic return if you use wisdom and compassion over fear and anxiety? It has your address. So fear, anxiety, stress, as Portia said, you're so caught up in yourself that you don't think of the bigger picture anymore. And it feeds that energy in the soul. And the soul gets weaker and gets more scared. Turn your attention to God. Think about your well-being after that attention. and then bring the best of you to your relationships. It'll work out. You will see. It'll work out and it'll do wonders. I hope you've enjoyed our segment today. And if you want some information on Portia's studio, you can go to her spa. It's on our website as well. For more information, let me type in, you have her spa address information? Okay, hold on one second. Could you get Portia's volume, then we can get the spa address, Santosh? Just the volume. Portia, could you give our listeners so put
I operate a very small business.
No, but it's
very
okay.
small.
Yeah. So what's the website that folks can get
It's just
information?
Portia Esthetician. That's it. Portia Esthetician.
.com, .net, .org.
You just Google. Yeah.
So just PortiaEsthetician.com.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes, always, always. All right, folks. So we're coming to a close of our lovely conversation. I really enjoyed this real-time moment. Santos says we have a question today that he wants me to focus on or get. Yeah. Wonderful thing, right? So we're here for each other. We've always been together in all of this, and I don't know what made us think that we were, alone in everything that we go through. All right, so Facebook question. I find it hard to meditate because I'm addicted to technology and social networking. Is there any advice you can offer? Absolutely. Okay, fine. You're addicted to technology and social media. All I'm going to ask you to do is take 5 seconds. Just put your computer down for 5 seconds. Take a breath. And then I'd like you to send your pure wishes to all the people that you've served through your social media. Just in 5 seconds. Ready? Put it down and just hear my voice. Take a deep breath. Breathe in your nose. Breathe out your mouth. No need to hold your phone or anything. And everyone that you've seen through all the scrolling that you've done, bless them. Tell them, I wish you well, I wish you happiness. And just that little practice of 5 seconds, you've meditated and you've given a pause. And that 5 seconds of interrupting your pattern will become 10 seconds when you do it next time, 30 seconds the next time, a minute, an hour. All right? So I'm not going to give you some great intellectual answer. I'm just going to take it practically from where you are. Okay? All right. Okay, so let's close off with a video from Sister Genti, and thank you all so much. Hey, tomorrow we will be live streaming Ricky Cage's Earth Day concert. Okay, so I want you to hold that in your consciousness. Go on our America Meditating and Meditation Museum Facebook, and you'll be able to tune in live for the Earth Day concert with Ricky Cage. And if you don't know who Ricky is, you heard him in the meditation that I just did earlier on. So let me give you the timings, just so that you're clear. April 22nd, 8 p.m. IST. Got that? April 22nd, 8 p.m. IST. They will go live. They will go live. And it will be live streamed. You'll have performers from around the world who will be performing music and will be sharing some words of advice to create healing thoughts and beautiful sounds to help with our environment. So please stay tuned for that tomorrow, and we're looking very, very forward to participating in that. So thank you so very much, Ricky. And you all heard my meditation with Ricky earlier on in the show today. And lots of blessings. Keep yourself optimistic. Don't get too down on yourself. And if you get down, send us a message and we'll certainly boost you up. Take good care and have a wonderful evening and be safe. Say
that the mind is an epiphenomenon of the brain, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. But what is amazing about actually understanding what the mind is that you realize that thoughts and feelings don't just happen. I can actually become the master of my own mind. I can create thoughts which are based on truth, on reality. I can have very noble thoughts, elevated thoughts, pure thoughts. I can take charge of my mind, which also means that I'm taking charge of my feelings. You know how so often we say, you make me feel glad, you make me feel sad, you do this, you do this, you do this. Well, that's fine. I can carry on being a puppet of this one or that one or the other one. But the power that comes when I say, I can change the direction of my own thinking, I can change the style of my feelings, and I can decide when to be happy and maintain that inner happiness. This is the magical thing about going on that inner journey and discovering that I am the master of myself. My own understanding and experience is that every human spirit starts with goodness. And this is what gives me hope for the future of humanity, that we don't begin with a mixture of good and bad. And definitely it's not that somebody begins bad, full stop, but we all begin with goodness. And then yes, there are layers and layers and layers that get covered, and so that goodness gets deeper and deeper and gets a bit hidden sometimes, even from our own selves. And so the journey of meditation is to remove all the dust and all the layers and discover that goodness within. Recognizing the beauty of the inner being and not only keeping it alive in myself all the time so that I'm in touch with the peace and the purity and the love, the truth and the joy within, but to be able to hold that to such an extent that another can also experience that awakening within themselves and feel that yes, they too have that same original truth and beauty. That for me is the magic of spirituality now, because you see so many people who don't have that appreciation and value of themselves. And if my consciousness can trigger even a little bit that awareness within them and say, maybe you spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a few minutes with somebody, and they begin to feel that yes, they too can awaken that same truth and love within themselves, that's a wonderful thing to experience.